This week we're discussing the Cisco Santa Claus bank robbery. 'Twas the 23rd of December, and all through the town people were shopping. There was nary a frown. Santa Claus arrived at the bank, and there arose such a clatter, the police soon arrived to see what was the matter. With a gun in his suit and his crew by his side, the National Bank hostages were in for a ride. On December 23rd, 1927, the town of Cisco in central Texas was preparing for Christmas and expecting peace on earth. Instead, a bank robbery would lead to one of the biggest manhunts in the state of Texas. At the First National Bank on Main Street, a man with a long white beard was greeting small children dressed as Santa Claus. This wasn't an attempt to spread holiday cheer. This was a very strategic maneuver. It wasn't too much longer that our Santa Claus would enter the bank with a loaded pistol. By the end of the day, the man with the bag would have completed a daring daytime robbery. Marshall Ratliff, son of a cafe owner from across the street from the bank, was Santa Claus. He had recently been released on parole after a bank robbery in Valera, Texas. He wasn't planning to stay on the right side of the law for long. Initially, Ratliff planned to complete a robbery with his brother Lee. However, Lee was arrested before the plan could be completed. Instead, Ratliff started gathering a crew, including Robert Hill and Henry Hounds. They picked another man to do the safe cracking, but he came down with the flu and could not participate in the robbery. Lewis Davis, a relative of Hounds, was roped into the project. But how to pull off the robbery? At this point in time, bank robbery was a daily occurrence. It was so bad that the Texas Bankers Association offered a $5,000 reward to those who shot a bank robber during a crime. This made things a lot more difficult for Ratliff, as he was pretty well known in Cisco for having previously robbed banks. To keep himself from getting shot, he decided he'd dress up as Santa Claus. After all, who would shoot Santa Claus right before Christmas? The group stole a car and headed to Cisco. Marshall Ratliff stationed himself in front of the First National Bank, and later all four marched into the bank like it was just a normal day. There are various eyewitnesses to what happened next. Some say Santa pulled his pistol from his suit without a word. Others say a teller asked Ratliff which store he was Santa Claus for, to which Ratliff responded, "You'll know soon enough." He was then said to point the pistol and yell, "This here's a holdup." The crew gathered hostages together, taking what money and valuables they could, and threatening to shoot if others' directions were not followed. What they didn't see was Mrs. Blassingame and her daughter Frances. They'd approached the bank after seeing Santa Claus enter it. When they realized there was a robbery in progress, the two ran out through the bank office to the alley. They ran to the police department at City Hall to alert the authorities. Soon the whole town was on high alert over the robbery. Hostages were put at serious risk, and 2 members of law enforcement were shot and killed. The bank manager was shot in the jaw. Santa and his prison elves left the bank with $12,000, which today would be the equivalent of about $17,340,000. They also left with $150,000 in securities and 2 small girls who had followed Ratliff into the bank thinking he was Santa Claus. 6 people in total were killed. 8 were injured in the shooting. Lewis Davis died after being shot. The other 3 managed to get out of town. Ratliff hid out in South Bend. One of the robbers was identified due to a bullet wound in his jaw. The other 2 were captured December 26. The 2 little girls were safe and the money was recovered, which frankly is a Christmas miracle. Ratliff was convicted of armed robbery on January 27, 1928. He was sentenced to 99 years in prison. Still, Ratliff wasn't worried. He is reported to have muttered, "There is no hill for a high stepper like me." Ratliff lost his appeal. He began to act oddly to try and get an insanity plea deal. In Eastland County, the civilians were incredibly angry because Ratliff still hadn't been executed for his crimes. On November 18th of 1928, Ratliff faked paralysis and told his jailers they'd have to carry him to the toilet. He overwhelmed them, stole a pistol, and escaped. One of the jailers then found Ratliff and beat him into unconsciousness. A crowd gathered, and by the following evening, 15 to 20 men rushed into the jail and drug Ratliff out. Fed up, an angry mob hung Ratliff from a light pole in the town square, having to attempt the hanging twice as the first rope broke. No one was ever brought up on charges for Ratliff's lynching. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to rate and subscribe. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, wonderful Kwanzaa, and a fantastic New Year's. And if I forgot your holiday, I apologize. Happy Yule as well. We'll see you soon in the new year.
Howdy, folks. I'm fixing to tell y'all about Texas, nicknamed the Lone Star State.
I'm particularly fond of these. I pulled them out of a place on Midgard called Texas.
Don't mess with Texas?
That's the message.
I'm Walker, and I'm Texas Ranger.
Taxi. I mean, anything for Salinas.